Good morning. Panoro Minerals, we're a copper exploration company. Much like our previous presenter, we're focused in Peru. We've been working in Peru now for over 20 years. We have two assets that we've been working on for the last 10 years. We acquired them 10 years ago, and over the last 10 years, we've taken our two projects, Cotabambas and Antilla, from zero resource to over 1.1 billion tons between the two. And you can see Cotabambas has a little over 5 billion pounds of copper in the resource, over 4 million ounces of gold and 56 million ounces of silver. The Antilla project is smaller in scale, a little over 2 billion pounds, almost 3 in copper and a little bit of moly. Both the projects have been drilled some 90 to 100,000 meters total over the last 10 years, and we've completed two preliminary economic assessments, including most recently at Antilla. Peru is where copper projects go to get built. That the key for the copper industry going forward. We've heard other presenters talk about the shortage of copper and where new copper is going to come from. New copper is going to come from those jurisdictions where you can get a permit to build new copper mines. That's the key with the location of our two projects in the south central part of Peru. Within a few hundred kilometers of our project over the last number of years, 4 new open pit copper mines, $15 billion of investment has already been completed. Port, rail, road, water supply, power supply, all in place and all growing. We have some very knowledgeable shareholders. Hudbay Minerals owns about 12% of our stock. JP Morgan and Resource Capital Funds each own about 7%. We have a very strategic financing agreement with Wheaton Precious Metals. I'll go through that a little bit with you. And we're ready to deliver into this emerging market with the lack of new copper. 2 projects in a very highly sought after district that are projects that are ready to move into feasibility and then into development. We're just under $100 million market cap. This time last summer, we were at one of our low points in our history at under a $30 million market cap. But we've started to see, with the emergence of the awareness of the copper space, some stronger valuations. I don't need to go through this very detailed because other presenters have talked about it already, but here you see 3 different cycles in the copper space over the last 30 years. And copper very predictably goes through the cycles where you get a lot of investment that leads to a lot of production, oversupply, copper price goes down, supply is cut, investment is cut, supply is reduced, and you end up always right back where you started, which is at those points F shown on the chart, which is a point where there's a lack of new copper supply, and that drives the next copper cycle. So clearly, end of 2015, early 2016, we hit a bottom at below $2 copper. And the other thing to notice on these charts is each cycle peaks higher, because each cycle requires more new copper projects to replace those that have been mined out, because the new mines have lower grades. So the world is looking at a point where copper projects are getting lower grade, much larger footprint, much longer time to development, very difficult to permit. That's why location is very important. And here in Peru, from 2012 to 2016, Peru doubled its copper production to become the world's 2nd largest copper producer. If you look at the names of the companies that have built or expanded copper mines in Peru, Glencore, Teck, Chinalco, Hudbay, MMG, Freeport, Grupo Mexico, you can see copper miners from all over the world have built or expanded mines in Peru. And now we're at a position where Panoro Minerals is one of the very few, and in the south, the only company with a junior company with advanced exploration projects. Our end game is to sell the assets. We'll sell them, we anticipate, into this new market where there's a lack of new supply and a lack of new projects. So in the south of the country, the yellow line is an access road from the Las Bambas project to the port. And along that road, that's where over $15 billion has gone into new copper projects. The extension of that road to the north is where our Cotabambas project is located. Antilla is located just to the southwest. So in this key copper development district, we have 2 projects. And both of them have PEAs completed. A lot of numbers on there, but you can see that Antilla will produce 21,000 tons a year of copper cathode. And Cotabambas will produce 70,000 tons a year of copper in concentrate, plus 95,000 ounces of gold and over 1 million ounces of silver. At Cotabambas, we continue to drill. We've identified new targets. We plan on growing the resource and improving the economics even further. At the Antilla project, we just finished the PEA a few weeks ago, and we will be looking to partner or sell that asset during this year. We have at Cotabambas a project with a low cash cost, $1.22 a pound. It has a very clean concentrate. Again, it's going to be an attractive feature for the project, clean concentrate. We have two different clusters of geologic targets. We've been focused on cluster 1 for the last, since we've been drilling the project 7 years ago. We will later this year move into cluster 2. We're expecting our permit approval soon. Cluster 2 is an area of skarn mineralization within the limestone host rock, and very hopeful that we have some very good potential for some significant high-grade skarn tonnage. We'll be investing a little over $3 million into Cluster 1 this year and about $4 million into Cluster 2. That is all financed. At Antilla, the recent PEA has shown a $250 million capital cost to produce 21,000 tons a year of copper cathode, meaning it's a very low capital intensity. It has a relatively low cash cost. The quantum on the capital cost is very manageable, $250 million. For that reason, we think that we'll find a good partner or buyer for that project this year, and we'll take the capital from that project, from that partnership or sale, and put that back into Cotabambas. We think at Cotabambas we still have the potential to double or more the resource, double or more the value of the project. The highest valuation that the company enjoyed was in 2012 at the peak of the last copper market, where we traded at about 6 cents per pound of copper. We had a $120 million market cap on 2 billion pounds of resource. We now have 10.5 billion pounds of resource. And plus, we made it through a very difficult time where we brought in Wheaton Precious Metals as a streaming partner. We've brought in Hudbay as an equity holder. They own about 12% of our stock. And with Wheaton Precious Metals, we have a streaming agreement for 25% of the project gold, 100% of the project silver, which amounts to 8% of the project. For $140 million up front, that goes into building of the mine. 10% of that, 14 million, funds us on an ongoing basis. So for the next 5 or 6 years, we don't have to worry about ever raising any money. All of our basic costs are covered. But the Wheaton Precious Metals money plus payments that we have coming from Hudbay give us $19 million to invest this year and next. So we'll be putting that into primarily into exploration at the Cotabambas project. So we're funded. We have 2 advanced projects. Cotabambas is large and growing. Antilla has just been optimized. We have a large portfolio of other assets, all of them located in this very important strategic location in southern Peru, including the Cusiorco project, which we sold to Hudbay just earlier this year. We have 3 other projects, Promesa, Año, and Humamantata, that are ready to drill. We see during the next 12 to 24 months us partnering and or selling both the Antilla and Cotabambas project, spinning out 2 new companies, 1, a pure copper royalty company, and 2, a new copper exploration company, giving our shareholders a share of those assets, giving our shareholders a share of the proceeds from the asset sales, and then starting to work on the other projects. So we've been doing 10 years worth of work. We think we're 10 out of 12 years through our plan, and well-positioned, 2 projects, financed, focused on Peru, focused on copper, and a lot of built-in valuation that we hope to realize as this new copper market emerges. So that's Panoro Minerals. Thank you very much. We're at booth 31.